It's the World Pokemon League, #1 draft league you could ever see. Getting stronger, yeah, I'm building up my own team. Gotta be the champion, the one you can't defeat. It's the World Pokemon League, #1 draft league you could ever see. Getting stronger, yeah, I'm building up my own team. Gotta be the champion, the one you gotta beat.
Hey guys, welcome to the Ultra Ball Power Rankings. Jay didn't necessarily want to do them this time because there is a lot that goes behind the scenes getting them done. So I'm here this time, and joining me is.
But more importantly, it's because Jay is stinky.
Yeah, I mean he probably does have that old man smell. I don't know.
Dude, he's got the Werthers on check.
Fucking
He's
back
got
in
the
my day
Werthers.
type shit.
Yeah. Also, I am not just your beloved Treasure Bug Vengabus. I am Riley, aka Kyogre Canucks, aka co-owner of the league.
AKA the lovable hobbit.
I just want some uppies, man. I just want some up.
That's fair. Honestly, who doesn't? Freaks, that's who
Right?
doesn't.
Exactly.
So,
But speaking of freaks, let's get into the freaky business that is this power ranking.
yep. So this is the most ultra of the balls. So, I think going into this, we're gonna see some teams that are decently cohesive. We're gonna see some that we're like, what?
I think you can, like, just doing a brief overview, you see a lot of cohesive patterns. And generally, what I would say when evaluating some Ultra Ball teams, especially for people who don't have like as much battling experience as say people in Master Ball and Premier Ball, is one of the key things to identifying stronger teams is identifying consistent lines on each team. So we'll go over those more, and strong duos that you'll see, or strong just individual cores, because there might not be as many tools on some of these teams, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. So, having said that, we're just gonna go jump right in. First team we're looking at here is Schmoofin' Swamperts, my boy Seth.
I think Seth has a very terrifying team. Like just looking at those first three, you have your rain mode, you have your Archaludon Mousehold, which, if anyone here is big on watching VGC tournaments, will know that that duo won the Baltimore Regionals by, I can't remember his name, but I know he runs a pretty big draft league, and he's been in the scene for quite a few years.
Oh, Hopeless.
Yeah, Hopeless, thank you. Yeah, he's really strong. And the duo, I think he highlighted really well. Like, because you have offensive Mousehold, you have such amazing support on this team. The Garganackle, a sneaky little late game pick, which I think could have been really good for someone to pick up to go against an Archaludon. Because, like, you know, if you burn their Terra, Salt Cure is just chunking them away. But
Oh yeah.
there goes one of your best tools against that.
I will
I don't know if
say
that's what you went for.
I will say this does feel like it's just an Archaludon team.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's any backup. It feels like once Archaludon is gone, there's not much left. He told me originally he wanted to mess with Archaludon. I said, "Oh, well, draft a decent rain team then." He got the setter and then didn't really do much else with the rain aspect.
Yeah, and with this being a solely points season, I think you are going to see quite a few of these teams that are very top heavy, and especially seeing like there's Grookey, Eevee, and Mudkip. Like,
Mhm.
we love our boy Mudkip, and Eevee has become the second mascot. But realistically, those two you can just ignore from everything. A couple of other things I do want to highlight is the type chart. So, like, a really strong fairy or dark move, even strong dragon coverage could be tedious for this team.
Mhm.
And I think Terra Fairy uh, into this team is going to be really strong, but also having something on this team with a Terra Fairy should be expected to come every week, like whether it's Archaladon or Politoed.
Oh, absolutely. Um, I think I'm not. I know preseason stuff is over.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I were to make some changes to this team, I think the Gyarados could be swapped out for a better spot. Personally,
Yeah.
it feels like the Gyarados wants to be an offensive piece here, but it just doesn't have the pieces to stay consistently in that role.
Well, I was even going to say one thing that is noticeable about this team is you don't have any Tailwind too. So even replacing that Gyarados with a strong Tailwind option, like Illumise is still there. You gain an extra point, and you can possibly shift around some lower tier stuff.
Yeah, I do like the Poltergeist. I think the Hatterene is an expensive piece. It's a little out of place.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you wanted a good Trick Room threat, you got it.
Yeah.
It feels like this team kind of wants to go Trick Room, but it's the rest of its speed tiers say no.
Yeah, this team feels like it's going to have a fun time trying to figure out its balance core. But yeah, with a trader, like, if you do like 3 trades, so you like trade out the Gyarados, the Hat, go a little bit lower, and then bring up, say, like the Mudkip or Eevee, then I think this team becomes a lot more cohesive
Well,
and a lot more terrifying.
I think the Mudkip and Eevee are both 1-pointers.
Yeah, they're both 1-pointers, so that's why I'm saying, like, even bringing them up to, like, say a 3-point, just as an example. Like, in the 3-pointer.
Bouncing out a little more instead of just being a top-heavy team.
Yeah, so in that way, like, I don't know, you can look at something like a Quillfish, or maybe not Quillfish, but, something along those lines in this tier to help balance out that type chart, especially see if you can get like a strong steel type that's not also part dragon or a poison type. That's why I was looking at the Quillfish. Now, just some food for thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, another thing I kind of want to point out, part of this is because he grabbed a bunch of 1-pointers. Got a decently low base stat total overall. 432 is kind of low for drafts like this.
Yeah.
So maybe readjusting some of your points for some better stats, or at least some more standouts would be nice.
Yeah. And like as we were saying earlier, like, if you get rid of like the Mudkip or Eevee, like that's 310, 325. Poltergeist, I know it is the lowest, but having that hospitality ability to also support the Archaladon and have redirection with Rage Powder is too valuable. So those last 2 slots, I think, you're able to replace one of those. All of a sudden, you get your team up to a 450 range, maybe even closer to 500, and that'd probably be closer to 450.
Yeah.
But, your team is all of a sudden looking a lot more threatening.
I'm also looking. Does this team get access to? Yeah, it's got Gargar and Aqua. I was looking to see if it had Wide Guard.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be something to worry about, especially in this format.
Yeah, I think that you're going to want to make sure you have different ways of blocking Earthquake spam. because Earthquake spam, as much as it's only restricted to one team and you have 2 resists, 1 immunity, you know, those resists are Grookey and Poltergeist. And Gyarados has the immunity, you still are leaving yourself open, especially your Charladon household.
Oh yeah. So, overall, what would you rate this team? We're just gonna do like letter grades. I'm
gonna say like a C plus, B minus, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and it feels weird to put something that has our showing on it that low.
Like,
But
the main thing is the lack of tailwind. Sableye is great, I love that. This awkward piece with the Hatterene and these 2 lower tier picks, I think if you bring all those up, then all of a sudden you're looking at a lot more threatening of a team.
mm-hmm.
Even looking at something like Hitmontop could be interesting. I don't know if it's available.
I don't remember. I will say I think the Gyarados could probably also go. You're definitely not using it for its water typing. I think that I also think having an additional rain piece would be nice as well for this team.
Yeah.
So
I think
maybe
additional rain would be
something
good.
to consider.
Hmm.
If I know him, he's
Right.
going to try to run this halfway through for half the season and then make changes. But
Yeah.
all right, so
All right. Well, let's go on to the next team.
yep,
See how.
a newcomer to the league. We've got Creepy Rodriguez. That is, I believe that is Riot. Oh, that didn't
believe
save.
so.
That didn't save properly.
Oh, I think it's Blaze on the sheet.
It is.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So Riot's team. I think that this team is quite intimidating.
This is yeah. This is a good team.
I think they're a European person as well.
Are they?
I believe so. I might be mistaken with that. So one thing that I just want to say, Dragonite, Prim, and Sinistra are going to be such a pain to prep for every week. And you tie in the Tauros for Intimidate spam too. Oh, that just sounds annoying to try to think around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Especially
no, this
with
is
Flamingo.
yeah. This team puts out a lot of it. It feels like it's like a mix between balance and like bulky offensive. I think it could do either or and still be fine.
Yeah, well, because one thing that I find with this team is it has unlike the last team, we're sitting around that 462, which I'm expecting a lot of these teams to probably be around, just due to it being a lower power format. But we have some great abilities to also back up these Pokemon to get boosted. We see that Hospitality again. Do we have any guaranteed crit moves, or is it just Frost Breath from full picks?
Trying to think. What are some of the other guaranteed crit moves that we worry about normally? God, why am I blanking?
Oh yeah, well, Frost Breath also from Weavile. So there's always that Anger Point strat.
And that's a fast one too, so that is an easier way to set that up.
Yeah, so you have quite a few different issues. If you can't get around the Anger Point and Co-Star Flamigo, that's just terrifying to look at. Flamigo also with the Tailwind to enable this team to go fast. And you have Bronzor, who's just really good for padding defensive weaknesses.
Yeah.
But it is also helping lean into the ghost weakness of this team. So while there are a lot of really offensive highlights on this team, as you were saying, it feels like it's trying to go for that bulky slow mode or bulky balance, but you then have to worry about opposing flying types. You have quite a plethora of weaknesses.
Yeah. I will say, when you try to split like modes like this, like not just like cores of two or things like that, but like when you try to like do both bulky offense, but you're also balanced, but you're things that are designed to do multiple things tend not to do either of those very well, in my experience.
Yeah.
So I think I really don't know what you would do to like define this as one or the other. Because I like the team. I think that a lot of these picks are really nice. I don't know, whether there's roles I'm not seeing or whether there's a trade or two that could be made for some better spots, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so just for myself, I think the Gengar is an interesting pick on this team. I get it for the ghost typing, just having additional damage, having the haze potential, speed control with Icy Wind, Will-O-Wisp. I think Gengar is a fantastic Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that you do fear.
Whoops, my bad.
You good?
I pressed a button.
Oh, okay. I think with the Gengar slot, you do risk having some of these weaknesses and overall bringing down the defensive options of your team, because 60, 60, 75, you have the 110 speed, but which is going to be faster than a lot of the format, but there's also a lot more priority options at this time too.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay. Something that could be really interesting is if you switched out Gengar and Tauros, which I know you lose your co-star strategy that I was saying earlier, but if you're able to get something like a Blaziken or another fast coaching Pokemon, I was just saying Blaziken since it is worth the same point value as Gengar, those could be really interesting. And especially since Blaziken does give you a few more options and it helps solidify your faster mode,
Mm-hmm.
and gives you more options of setting up beside Co-Star Flamigo.
Okay.
So you could
I can definitely get behind that.
Yeah, because then speed boost Sword Sand, switch in Flamigo, and now you have two sweepers. Decide what you're going to do.
So I definitely do like the Paldea Blaze here. I think that fits in this really well. I'm not gonna sit there and go, Firewater Grass Core. I think
we love the Firewater Grass.
I was like, it's good, but I'm not gonna bring it up every single time, like a certain person we know. Cough,
certain cough. Jay Jingles.
No, it wasn't even Jay. It was L.A.
I know. I want to call Jay out though.
That's fair. Get wrecked, old man. I do think the Gengar is definitely the point that could be shifted on this team. I think I don't know if there's a better steel type than Bronzor in the points available by dropping it. I almost feel like a steel type would fit this team really well.
I like the Bronzor. I do see where you're coming from. Could be interesting.
I don't necessarily mean getting rid of Bronzor, but I don't mean getting rid of Bronzor. I just mean in addition to.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now.
Steel is not the worst type to double up on.
New. Okay. Something I am curious about is, so if you switched out the Gengar for the Electivire, just in theory, because then you get redirection on top of your Sinistcha. Yeah, let's see how this looks. Okay, it
really doesn't change.
It does also give you a bit of pressure into the electric types. It helps reduce some of your weaknesses by a little bit, and gives you, while you lose, actually you gain 2 on BST. No. Do you gain?
You gain 4.
Gengar's BST.
Yeah, you gain 4.
Oh, damn, look at me go.
Electivire's got some decent stats.
Yeah.
I like that quite a bit. I think it also opens up some more viability with Vikavolt as well.
Yeah.
Because
as we saw with with Will a couple of seasons ago when he won Master Ball. Like, discharge spam with Electivire is still pretty valid, especially since you get your own at-home Disquake.
Yeah. So I think it's worth. I definitely think that that's worth considering if you are Riot.
Yeah.
But team as is with the Gengar, where do we think this sits?
I think this is a high B to B plus range.
I think B plus is pretty safe for this team. I don't think it deserves an A. I think that as solid as it is, it's got it's got a few things holding it back. I think after one or two good trades, it could be low A.
Yeah, I also don't know what the Pawmo is doing. Like, I just kind of been looking at it the entire time, thinking it was Pawmi.
It's 1 point.
Is it actually?
I'm pretty sure. You can fact check me if you want. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, it's 2. Anyways, either way,
still, it's a low pointer.
Yeah, it's a low pointer. Either way, I still think this is like, I'd say around like a B plus, B plus.
Okay. So, you and I are kind of on the same page on that one. I was thinking B plus when I asked the question, but I wanted to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Good job. I don't know if this is Riot's first draft league or if it's just his first time with WPL. But nice solid draft. I was like, I don't think mine was anywhere near as cohesive the first time I played draft. So good on them. Next up, we got Maple. God damn it, I didn't. Wait, what is this?
Oh, you accidentally put Napalm. Or, like, you copied
give me a sec. I did a stupid.
Live editing.
Yay!
Live editing. Yippee!
That better not mean everything else is wrong. Okay, yeah, no. Everything else should be right. So this is the only one that got screwed up. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry. Mistakes were made. Things happen. There you go. Alright, so, Holy VGC.
Yeah, this feels like... Honestly, this brings me back to, like, a Series 1 style team plus Incineroar.
Yeah. I do like the team.
Yeah.
I think that...
The team has a lot of prowess.
Well, you think about it, there's a lot of tried and true things on here, mixed with some fun picks on the lower end.
Like, honestly, Hypno, sneaky pick. Because, like, Inner Focus, Trick Room, decent special attack, too, if I'm not... Oh, never mind.
I was like, it's... My gamer, it's 73 base attack, or special attack.
Yeah.
It's a decent support mon in that it's pretty good at setting up Trick Room and living to talk about it. It's gonna it needs help to consistent, or it's going to be the help to help things keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be the help that's needed. But also, even still. It still gets some interesting supporting moves, like you get both weathers, you get screens, Encore, Haze, Toxic, Taunt, just to name a few good moves. I'll even just knock off sets, just start being like no items for you.
Yeah.
Which could really help the Amoonguss. Even though you have an Incineroar, that's probably also clicking knockoff. But...
Yeah. I don't know. I also feel like traditional VGC teams just don't do well in draft.
No, I feel like since you're constantly adjusting your team in draft leagues, it is harder to get some of these more standardized teams going because you are going against someone who is directly countering what you have. And I think that's an issue that you see a lot of people, especially who do well in VGC, go to draft or even from VGC or from draft to VGC typically. Like that we'll see is you're either so used to trying to make a general matchup plan or a specific draft matchup plan that you kind of blur the lines, being like, okay, well, how was I supposed to be ready for this?
Yeah. Now
Right.
we've looked at it enough as like, oh, a VGC team. Now I'm kind of, what roles or like what pieces do we think this team's missing? I guess is a good way to start this.
So for me on this team, I'd like some sort of way to deal. Actually, let me look more carefully. So the slow mode is a bit awkward. Right now, you're relying a lot on your speed outside of the first three, but even then, like they're not the slowest options. So your first three and like your picks from the kilowatt roll to the drag bolt kind of have a bit of different modes. You also feel like you want a lot of pivoting with this type of team. So I think you're gonna have to really utilize like your U-turns and whatnot with your drag bolt, ambipom, and Ensign. So maybe a good setup piece.
Okay, so because a lot of these mons feel the need to come in and out to
Yeah.
keep momentum going. Something that sets up would be a nice change for it.
Yeah, like, you have a lot of pieces that are able to position around, help hinder your opponent. So if you got a really good setup piece, like even Lucario, like it gets sword stance, but with what, like base 90 speed,
Mm-hmm.
it feels like it might just be a little too slow. And it might also just lose to size spam if you try doing something like an extreme speed set.
Yeah. I think the team could. I agree that I think we need a setup sweeper. There's a lot of things here that disrupt your opponent, but there's not a lot to capitalize on things.
Yeah.
And so I think a strong special attacker, like a setup sweeper for a special attacker, would be nice for this team.
Yeah, especially having like the 5-point tier slot going to that Lycanroc Dusk.
Yeah.
I think. I think a Cyclozar could be interesting. They'll also get some Shed Tails, so in that way you're able to get more forward momentum with your team.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. I think my biggest concern is like, okay, your highest special attack on your team is Lucario at 115.
Yeah.
Which is definitely usable, but it's nothing that stands out.
No. Yeah, I'm just trying to think, like, if there is anything that can really help, especially since, like, we do see a nice spread of the amount of points you have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to really pinpoint, like, well, if you move this, then you can do this. And, like, yeah, like, things like Glamora are there, things like Porygon Z are there, but hell, even Superior
actually,
could be an interesting pick. Low-key.
Is it possible to pick up the Porygon Z if they drop Ambipom? Switching out the normal types? Or is the point difference too much?
Yeah, so you'd be going from a 4-point mon to an 8-point.
Oh,
so
okay.
you probably have to drop the Dragapult and the Ambipom to shift it around. but then you could do like an 8-point Mon and a 6-point Mon.
Yeah.
And again, like, there's quite a few good special attackers there. Like, you have Dragalge, you have, again, that Electivire, you have Magmortar. So, there are definitely plenty of options. And, you know, you could even try to capitalize on, like, you get rid of your only fairy weakness on the team. Although Dragapult is so nice. Dragapult is so strong, especially, like, Baxed or Banded.
Yeah, so Dragapult is one of those mons I feel like it's one-dimensional in that it has, like, only one or two sets that it really wants to set into. But it does those jobs so well, it's pretty easy to support, and it can be very hard to deal with something that's base 142 speed.
Right? Like, base Dragapult is so damn fast, like, it feels unfair at times.
Mm-hmm.
Just what? Dragapult's base speed at level 50, not even going with a plus nature, is 162.
Yeah.
That is so insanely fast. Like, you put 44 speed investment, not a boosting nature, into this Dragapult, and it's already outspeeding all your base 100s, which we were saying already was a pretty good speed benchmark.
Oh, absolutely. With this being a much slower format, if you can get a decent amount of things base 100, you're doing just fine.
Yeah, like, and then, like, even if you go max attack on the Dragapult or max special attack, you have 212 EVs to just mess around with. So you could do, like, I don't know, if you're really afraid of Scarf Pokemon, cool, Dragon Dance is right there too. And then, you have a +1 Dragapult with, like, a Life Orb. Dragon Darts is about to kill something.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually kind of terrifying when you... Well, not kind of terrifying. It is terrifying when you realize the potential that this thing has.
So I feel like this team, again, like talking about like it's split between modes, you have a couple really decent balance pieces here, but then the rest of your team is just hyper offense, ooga booga.
Yeah.
Do you just lean into that and like be able to bring multiple types, or do you specialize in one? Because like balance can have strong pieces. It's just I don't know if some of their stronger pieces fit into that playstyle.
Yeah, I think if they want to go more balanced mode, then they have to change up, like, the Lycanroc, Lucario, Ambipom, somewhere in that middle range.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could also say for the Glalie, Hypno, and Spidops, but those are, like, your lower tier options, so, like, those might not be worth dropping, like, the 3-4 points for. So it's difficult to say exactly what the right call is there. I mean, for me, I'd be looking at switching out the Lycanroc.
Yeah.
As you were saying, get something that leans into that special offense, and then looking at doing a lot of stuff with the setup Dragapult.
I like that. I think the team is good. It has a lot of options it can go to become better, though. So like I don't like, as much as I'm talking like, oh, you could change this. The team is strong.
Yeah. Like, if I'm going against this, I am trying to figure out what I'm doing, how to get around this, and I might cry a little.
Yeah. Also, BST 488's really good for this type of draft.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially since it doesn't also account for Azumarill having huge power.
And then also, and that's also with, you've got Spidops, like, bringing down your average, too.
Yeah, Spidops is bringing down your average. Like, 404 being your lowest total.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah. Like, this just shows that they have a very stat buffer or not buffered, stat team, and you have to figure out your way around it. I think it's pretty solid, but I do think it has its fair share of weaknesses too.
It has the potential to become better. I'm going to go first on the grading for this one.
Okay.
I think this is a solid B plus, almost an A minus.
See, I am going to say B minus, just because of, just for the lack of defensive options that this team has.
Okay.
That's the only reason why.
So kind of set, want to meet in the middle, kind of on like a mid B then.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Okay.
We'll meet at B.
Alrighty. Next up, it's the Titan Sheer Force. So Mort.
It's Mort's first draft, and you know what?
I like
know
it.
that Homeboy is cooking. I'm not going to expose all the secrets he has shared, but there is some interesting heat here.
I appreciate you have every pledge on this team.
Yeah, you have every pledge. So you have to get ready for that swamp pledge. You have to get ready for that rainbow pledge. You have to get ready for that burning field pledge.
You couldn't think of what it was called, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going through it. I'm trying to remember.
I think it's just called Wildfire.
I
think it's just called Wildfire.
Oh, it might. I think you are right. I think I am a fraud.
To be fair, I've run pledges more than once in draft, like just because it's funny. Not because it's good, because it's funny.
I don't think I've ever run a pledge move in my life. I am indeed what they call a fraud.
No, you're smart.
Wait.
You're not insane like we are.
No, instead I just do other insane things.
Yeah. So, first off, I'd like to point out the type chart. Like, you've got some really good resists here. Like, the only thing I'm remotely worried about for this team is its fighting weakness. Like, yes, you have Gardevoir and Spiritomb to balance that out, but fighting just kind of looks really good in this team.
Yeah, fighting is quite the issue for this team. I think the Orthworms to Titan really helps highlight that weakness. But, like, they are fairly physically defensive, so there is that. I know that he was saying that he really wants to have this a Titan for the mascot pick.
Yeah, and I understood that because I talked with him earlier this week about it. Because I found it weird that he didn't have a way to, or they didn't have a way to set up snow. So I'm like, okay. They explained some of their thoughts behind it, and I'm like, okay, pop off. In hesitation of sounding like LA, I do kind of want to highlight this is a really good Firewater Grass core.
Oh yeah, like they have their fundamentals down pretty packed. They have their Firewater Grass. They have their Steel Fairy Dragon.
I really like the Fantasy core. I think it's really nice.
Yeah, the Fantasy core is really strong. The Firewater Grass is always reliable. But like especially with Meowscarada being part of your pledge setup, since for those who don't know, whoever your fastest pledge user is helps like just kind of drag along the other ones. So you have fast Meowscarada, it uses Grass Pledge, and then all of a sudden, Swamper's hitting at the same time, or Emboar's hitting at the same time. And while it's not going to be as strong of a hit because I'm trying to remember if it comes off of Meowscarada.
No, it comes off the second. It comes off the second.
Okay, so yeah, like Emboar still has 100 base special attack, and Swampert with 85. Like, yeah, they're not the strongest, but they're still stronger than Meowscarada's 81.
Yeah. And then we can also look at kind of the weather aspect. What is Torkoal doing here?
Torkoal is here to do damage under Trick Room.
Okay. I think
Yeah,
if that's the only thing it's doing, then there's probably a cheaper option to do that. But again, if they're cooking, they're cooking.
I think it was also in preparation for the amount of rain teams, because rain teams were like, it was everyone's target, right? It was everyone's enemy number one going into this draft. So if we go back even to Shmoovin Swamperts getting that Archaladon round one, I think that was a really smart pickup, because it allowed them to have Polytoad as an option, do manual rain as an option, and rather than trying to lean into the rain, we have our boy Mort here just saying, you know what, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to just be like, I'm setting up Sun. My Sun gets set up after you. So figure out what you're going to do from here. And I really like that.
Okay. As far as the TR setters, I really like Spiritomb. Gardevoir as a backup is not bad. I think with them realistically setting up the Sun quite a bit. I don't like the Basculin White.
No, Basculin White is a bit awkward.
And I will say that Emboar is going to become a nuke. Flare Blitz in the Sun with Reckless.
Oh my gosh, something is going down.
Something's going to die. Emboar's probably going to die, but
listen, Emboar is going out.
I am an Emboar lover, but avid enjoyer. That thing's gonna hurt really bad.
Yeah, because it's like base 105, I want to say, attack. Or oh god, it's 123.
It's 123. No, this thing hits like a truck, dude.
Dude, like that's so a Flare Blitz in the Sun with a Reckless boost, and you know what? Let's throw out a Life Orb just to add extra damage.
Oh god.
From this thing, so it's 192 physical attack with a 20% boost. So what that is, 19 plus, so 38. So that's already 240? No, 230. Sorry, 230 plus an additional 30% boost. So I'm pulling out a calculator for this one because Well,
all these modifications affect the base power of the moves, not necessarily Emboar's attack. So,
yeah,
that definitely changes things for it. But getting it's what?
Just look.
Oh, sorry.
So 120 Flare Blitz, right? With both the modifiers of Reckless and Life Orb, it makes it a base 187 if we're just looking at it both on the modifier.
Okay, so I want to point something out. That's the base power that a expanding force gets to in terrain.
Yes.
That's nuts.
That's before Sun. That's before Terra.
Yeah.
So, oh my lord. And this is single target, so something is dropping.
Like, I think that drops an Archaladon, does it not? Easily.
Probably.
I think it probably drops it after one or two boosts.
Here, let me throw up a calc real quick, because I didn't think I was doing Emboar calcs today.
You've always been the Blaziken believer, not the Emboar believer.
Yeah. Anyways, as I'm doing this calc, what do you want to rate this out of 10?
I will say it's an odd team, so I don't think I can give it like the highest rating. I do also think I think it's middle of the pack right now. I think a B+ is very good for this team. I don't see any like bad points in this team. I think also, can we point out the average stats is over 500.
Yeah, the average
Um,
stat speed over 500.
That's
With like
505. That's
with
insane.
with Electrode being one of your lower stats, and like
Yeah.
and Torkoal being your other, but it sets up the sun and has Unga Bunga eruption.
Yeah. Um, this is a very decent team. I kind of want to change that. I think this team might be low A.
See, like I'd say like B plus to A minus. I can see either.
Um,
Uh,
this
again,
is
like
I like this a lot.
you know, actually, I'm bringing it down to a B. The more that I think about it, I'm bringing it down to a B, just because I feel like there's a couple of pieces that I can see being changed, like just to have it be more of a strong option, and also just because I'm saying it's B doesn't mean that I think it's like bad or anything. B is still pretty solid. I think it has what it takes to go far. But I think that you will see things like the Basculin and the Cetitan just being a bit awkward. For
Yeah,
you know, a
and
lot of
I'll
people.
say the Titans a lot of points to just not have show up.
Yeah, like I think those two, like the Basculin, it's like 2 points, so you're not caring as much about that slot. But the Cetitan,
That's what,
Titan
7 points?
does
It's 6, 7 points.
six or seven. Either way, it's a lot. It's a
Um,
lot to have just sit there. Yeah, it's 6 points. I just double checked.
okay.
Especially since it is a mascot pick. Like, I want to see that it does something. I want to see the mascot do something.
I would say like
More
find a way to enable your mascot, and I think this team becomes 100 times better.
Yeah. I think even just having like an extra like snow mode. I don't know what gets snowscape right now, but that could be interesting.
I would have to look at the low tier. I know Snover's down there if you really wanted to go that route, but I personally wouldn't.
Yeah.
Actually,
I don't think you want snow.
actually, their type chart is good enough. You could.
Yeah, but then you just highlight your flying and fighting weakness, where I think you might want to try to mask those.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, so the Archalodon. So I just pulled up in
Oh, for the Embor calc.
Showdown Calculator. Yep. I used it for the Showdown Calculator.
Okay.
So Adamant Flare Blitz from Embor in the Sun with the Life Orb and Reckless to a 252 HP, 28 defense Archalodon. It is minimum doing 101%. So, yeah,
Oh,
I just let
boy.
that sink in.
And that's without the sun?
That's with the Sun.
Okay.
Without the Sun, it is doing at most 79.1%.
That's still a hell of a way to chunk an Archaludon.
Yes, like you are chunking that boy, and that is also no defense boost or anything. So you are just raw damage.
That's funny.
Onto it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like.
Can you
still
imagine
get
helping
close
handing
combat.
this thing on top of it?
Oh my gosh. So if you don't have the Sun up, Helping Hand does get there. Terra Fire is just shy of getting there,
Mm-hmm.
with it only having like a 40% chance.
So
Anyways, next team.
we've got Aura.
So I think this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also curious to see if they think that Cleffa gets Follow Me. Or if they just picked it because it's cute.
I have no idea. It's
Like,
odd for sure.
because I just hope that they didn't pick it being like, oh, this is such a cheap Follow Me option. Just to have the cruel fate of realizing that it doesn't get Follow Me, unfortunately.
I'm just enforcing it in the doc. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this team definitely looks like one that appreciates redirection. It has
Yes.
none of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
that's
kind
a
of where I was getting at too.
that's a role I think kind of needs to be filled. Like your only redirection is for water types with Storm Drain, and that's it.
Well, you have Volcarona with Rage Powder.
I mean, yeah, but what is a Volcarona taking well? The thing wants to do damage, not take damage.
Yeah. No, that is valid. I think Spupa. I think it is it 1 or 2 points. I can't remember. Anyways, I think that could be an interesting pickup because that way you're getting your redirection for less. I guess there might also be like Furret, not Furret, Sentret.
Mm-hmm.
If that also gets followed.
I'm pretty sure Sentret got taken. Spupa is 2 points, but
Oh no, Sentret's also 2 points, not taken.
Okay.
But that's just stronger redirection, right?
Yeah.
So, like, Furret could be interesting, Spupa could be interesting, but the one of the other main issues I have is this team's type chart is scary.
Yeah.
Seems like you're gonna want to rely on Terra a lot.
It's also like just the fact of this thing really can't switch into anything else. A good read just demolishes a piece of this team.
I was even gonna say like like a strong attack. Say like from a Hydreigon, right? Like you go Terra Fire, Choice Specs Heat Wave, like that is chunking this team.
Yeah.
And yes, while you do have Pokemon like Tatsugiri, who 4 times resisted,
it still doesn't want to take one.
Ew.
It doesn't really have the best. I mean, it's $68.95 on special, so I mean, it could take it. It still doesn't want to though.
Yeah, no, it really does not want to. So, if you are going to go Flamethrower, so let me just look for Flamethrower. So, Flamethrower into a Tatsugiri is doing about 20% if you Terra Fire, and if you are max special attack modest, like Muddy Water is not getting there.
No.
Oh, I also realized this is a bulkier Tatsugiri that I was typing out. So Flamethrower, Flamethrower is doing anywhere from 21 to 25%.
I mean,
right?
It you can switch into that, but it's also still like you don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more of an ouchie than I think I'd want to take on a switch in.
Exactly, and like you also then have to fear because you are naturally slower. So if they're not specs, you're dropping to any dragon move. And again, that is one Pokemon that is looking quite intimidating for this team to take on.
Mm-hmm.
I know not everyone's gonna have a Hydreigon, but the week that you do have to go against one is still something to consider. Since in Ultra Ball, just about every 10-point Pokemon was taken, except for my boy Porygon 2, which, ouch. Rob is throwing hands somewhere.
I mean, to be fair, out of all the teams we've seen so far, do you really see a team where P2 would have done well? Because I haven't yet.
No, I haven't seen one where P2 would have done well. But I'm just saying, my poor boy P2 was the only kid that was left when they were picking for dodgeball.
And it is strange to see that, but it's I don't know.
Especially since a little peek behind the curtain when we were going through tiering everything. I was actually saying that Whimsicott was way too expensive as a 10-pointer. I was saying it should have been 8. And I will die on this hill.
I think 9 would have been a good compromise for that.
Yeah. Everyone else said 10. I said like 8. I was told I was crazy.
Alright.
Putting it to 10. I was like, all right, you know what, valid.
So let's go ahead and give this a grade here real quick.
Yeah, so I like my boy Volcarona. I want to see some sort of redirection. I want to see something done with this type chart. I want to see something done from the Oricorio Sensu to the Tatsugiri. I want to see some magic happen there. Same with the Cleffa. So I'm gonna give this a C plus.
Yeah, I'll say that that's pretty fair. This is definitely one of the weaker teams we've seen so far. Wim Vulcanilate is good, but there's a lot of other things on this team holding it back.
Yeah.
So, next up,
I think the Vaporeon itself is also really cool.
I like that pick here. I really do.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be Matt Star. I am going to let you talk on this one. I've got to step away for just one moment.
Yeah, okay, so time for your boy to start yapping.
Yep.
Alright, so, just looking at this, okay, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, and Farigiraf, super strong duo. If you do not have something ready for that, then you're just gonna get yourself cooked. So, Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Farigiraf, I have quite a bit of experience with it. I've made a couple of different teams in regular VGC, starting back in like Regulation F, where I was able to get to like top 50 in ladder. Like, I know I was approaching top 10 at one point, but I can't remember if that was with this team. Anyways, there's not a ton that want to take Hyper Voice spam. Ursaluna Blood Moon, just a really strong Pokemon. It's... Even though it only has 555, which sounds insane to think of, considering that is the highest stat total on this team. Like, 555 is quite strong in this format, especially with 135 special attack. Like, that is numbers that we saw with things like Fluttermane. I want to say even there's some other restricteds that we saw with like 135. I want to see what else was there. Chi-Yu, but Chi-Yu has its additional ability. Miraidon, which again has the boosting ability. Even Volcarona has 135. Like, that's something that we forgot to highlight last time. But 135 is just one of those, is such a high special attack, and with pretty sizable bulk, it's hard to deny of this thing's power. Like, you can make it a pretty strong Trick Room option by just slapping a Life Orb on it and making your opponent really figure out what are they doing, right? And then Farigiraf is another option that you can make either really good supportive or just stupidly strong with the Throat Spray. And Farigiraf also having really nice natural bulk also helps enable this. Now, just going beyond that Trick Room mode, we have a strong Sun Core. You have Murkrow being your manual Sunsetter, so in that way you don't have to worry about speed interactions and switching in, switching out to get the opponent getting their weather on that turn. So you have like Charizard, listen, as much as we joke about loving Charizard in a lower power format like this, I think is quite strong, because you can just do like a Timid, Specs, Solar Beam in the sun. So just looking at that Tatsugiri that we were talking about earlier.
I'm sorry? We're back. I'm back now?
Oh, okay. I was just talking about Charizard.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm gonna be honest, I spent most of that time talking about Ursaluna and Farigiraf.
That's fair.
Like, just how undeniable of a strong core that is.
Okay.
And then, like, Charizard. So if we look at Charizard with the manual Son of Murkrow, Terra Fire boosted in the sun against that same Tatsugiri we were talking about earlier with when I was saying about the Hydreigon.
Mm-hmm.
Terrafire Sun Boosted Timid Specs Charizard is doing about 50% to a Tatsugiri. That is a 4 times resist.
Yeah.
And that is still doing half. Like,
So something
if
I'd
you
like
just
to
go-
point something I'd like to point out about this team is that it fits in kind of any mode. Like
Right?
it's a really good tail room team that can do stuff in sun and rain, and it almost feels like, call it an anti-meta team is something I could call it for the draft.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this team.
The only thing that I feel is a bit awkward here is Kingdra and Pincurchin.
Well, Kingdra is, I think, here because there's multiple rain setters, and on top of Murkrow can set the rain.
Yeah.
So just as you're talking
Like,
about
I get-
Murkrow sets the sun for the Charizard, it does the same thing for the Kingdra, and Kingdra also gets, I don't remember, I believe Kingdra gets Dragon Cheer if I'm not mistaken. If not, then doesn't Charizard get it or something?
I know Charizard gets it.
So there's a mode there setting up the Dragon Cheer on the Kingdra.
Yeah, so Kingdra does not get Dragon Cheer, but yeah, the Dragon Cheer on the Kingdra with the Sniper ability, I also think is another really strong mode.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Put a Scarf on it for your speed control instead, and all of a sudden this thing's hitting numbers you don't expect it to hit.
like with 85 base speed, like again, one of those sneaky, fairly fast options. Like it hits 150 speed if it's 252 timid. So you don't even need to run timid if you're going against like Dragapult, like we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Dragapult, like you only have to hit like what?
You have to hit if you're looking at the modified speed, and you've got to hit 214 outspeed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so 143 gets you to, I think that gets you to 214. So sorry, you do have to hit
It does,
timid.
yes.
Yeah, so you'd have to do timid to outspeed the Dragapult if you just wanted to do the Scarf. But without the Scarf, you can just go modest, and you don't even need that much investment. Like you hit the 107, which is 12 points of investment,
Mm-hmm.
and bam! All of a sudden, you're outspeeding Dragapult. You can take them out with your own Draco Meteor. So yeah, no, Kingdra is an incredibly strong Pokemon. I was just a little caught off guard by seeing it on this team, but I do get the power behind it.
It does also have some like sneaky synergy with the other pieces in this team. I think that's part of why it made it here.
Mm-hmm.
I do like some of the redirection with the Venomoth.
Yeah, dude, Wonder Skin is such a cool ability.
Yeah.
Like, make all your opponent's status moves 50% accurate. That's such a neat ability. Tinted Lens, so then if you wanted to try to have Volcarona at home with your Quiver Dances, oh, it's so cool.
And then if you wanted to protect Venomoth from like snarlable shenaniganery and all that, Shield Dust does act like that. A free Covert Cloak's nice.
Yeah, having the options of like 3 decently strong abilities is really nice. And having like your last 3 spots having some form of redirection for the team, with Pincurchin with Lightning Rod, Lumineon with Storm Drain, and Venomoth with just Rage Powder.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a lot that's enabling the rest of your team.
So I very much like, this is probably, I think, one of my favorite drafts I've seen from Matt.
Yeah. I think this feels like a very consistent team. And like with a lot of Matt's teams, I feel like he has like a really strong one strong mode, and then it feels like a bunch of pieces that he tries to pick up, but you can tell that he might not be as certain of an exact mode, or he tries going for some gimmick that may not be able to land a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
But this just feels consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of different modes. It makes it very hard to prep for. I very much I think this might be one of our first like middle A teams of
Yeah,
Ultra Ball.
yeah, I'd say this is a strong like A minus to A. I'd say somewhere in that range.
Mm. So really good job, Matt.
Yeah, a really intimidating team.
So next up, we've got Blazing Charizard. Um, newcomer to WPL. He's played in Goldenrod a couple times, but still very new to draft altogether.
I do love this type chart. It's the first no red type chart we have had.
I think
It
he
is
he
beautiful.
focused really heavy on the type chart, and also the amount of stats on this team is also like insane.
Because again, we have over 500 for the base stat total.
And you have stuff like breaks and Wigglytuff on this team, and you're still hitting 101 overall attack.
Yeah. Like the Dondozo, the Ursaluna, the Salamence, the Metagross, really helping drag that up. You have a really strong fast mode with your Talonflame, and again the Salamence Metagross. Something that we saw back in Generation 7, which I think could be a really cool strategy. Seeing if they go for it, is the Bulldoze Salamence, like AV Salamence, next to a Metagross with weakness policy, and then making the opponent figure out what are you going to do into me.
Mm-hmm. So
because like there's not too many teams so far that we have seen that can take that.
Yeah, and also just like you have some of the other modes, like you have Disquake, you got this Disruption that is Klefki. He had reached out to me wanting a bulky water type, and I was like, yo, grab Dondozo. Unaware's really nice, and it has some decent bulk for what it is.
Yeah. I think Solo Doso is heavily overlooked.
Oh yeah. There's no way I can talk him out of Skuntank. He's drafted that multiple times. That's his
That's baby boy.
Yep. Overall, I do really like this team. I do worry that it's a little one-dimensional and it's only going to do like one or two things really well.
So I also have the next question for you. How long until he locks in Fissure? Because you know that Fissure is coming.
That depends on who's talking in his ear when he's prepping.
Because like I think that the Fissure mode kind of goes nuts here.
Mm-hmm. I think it's funny. I don't know when he's gonna lock that in. I think it might. Honestly, I do really need it, especially with how strong of attack stat you have here. But again, I guess Okos are Okos.
Yeah, like never underestimate an Oko move. However, it would also be really funny.
Do we have any recommendations for this team to make it stronger, or do we kind of like it how it sits?
So right now, one of the main things that I'm noticing is, as you're saying, that lower half feels a bit awkward with like the breaks in stun tank. Wigglytuff, I'm not too sure what it's doing outside of having competitive, because this team is very intimidate weak. I'd want something a little bit more effective at scaring away intimidate.
Mm-hmm.
The Klefki being your only trick room setter is a bit concerning. The Braixen definitely feels like it was there because it's like, you know what, I want the Fire Water Grass core. And the Wigglytuff is there because they wanted Fantasy,
Well, I mean,
he's got the
Fire Water Grass core with Talonflame.
You know what? I forget that Talonflame was a fire type for a second.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I think Wigglytuff and maybe Decidueye could be shifted out for some better picks.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some stronger special offense on this team, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see some special offense, like, because right now, outside of Salmond,
it's
like-
it's Electros.
yeah, Electros is your strongest, then Wigglytuff.
Well, you have the Decidueye there that can whack with special attacks for base 100.
Yeah,
Um,
but also I don't even know what Decidueye gets. I'm being
Shadow
100%.
Ball, Shadow Ball, Energy Ball, I believe.
Shadow Ball, Energy Ball. Okay, so it gets consistent moves. I'm just looking it up too.
It doesn't.
Yeah,
It doesn't
I
really
guess
have
you could
anything.
try Hurricane.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think he has anything to set up the Hurricane here to like make it more accurate, which is a problem.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. That's going to be the issue. And like the physical attack and special are pretty close. But I also do like just Spirit Shackle.
Mhm.
Spirit Shackle Yawn, I think, could be really fun because then you lock them in and you just go wow wow.
Yeah, that is neat. So yeah, overall rating, what do we think?
B minus.
Yeah,
Minus to a B.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Has
Because like
some
as you were
really-
saying, the special damage isn't there. Support pieces, like you have Talonflame and Klefki, and then you have some just random friends in the back, and
Yeah, I will say like fast Ursaluna is rough to pull off.
Yeah.
If you can do it, good on you. But it definitely feels like the Ursaluna is slightly unsupported.
yeah, I feel like right now you might be leaning on the Dondoso fissures a little bit more than you might hope to,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bit of an issue with your consistency.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a good first draft for. This is also his first full points league.
Yeah, I think for being a first, especially first full points league, because he's played 2 or 3 seasons of Goldenrod. I'm trying to remember
He
now.
played 3 seasons. Has not done well in any of them. But he's also used to playing Nat decks.
Yeah, so I think it'll be great to have them here. I'm looking forward to seeing them play, seeing how what strategies they come up with, because I think that's always one of the most fun things about seeing people new come into our league, is seeing what new strategies are they going to introduce. And because people also underestimate, like, even if they don't have the best results, with people still watching, like, you are still influencing the way that higher tier or like the upper divisions or people who are placing better are playing.
Mm-hmm. I think this is going to be an amazing
So-
opportunity for Sandman to learn.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to have him here, and I think this is a really good first attempt for this league. So very good on you, dude.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited to see
So
what they do.
next up,
Oh, it's Mr. Sustin.
it is Sustin. Right off the bat, I see a lot of fairy type. There's a lot of red on this chart.
Yeah, dripped out Dragapult. Feels like this is a bit of a vibes trick room mode with an Arcanine. Arcanine, I think, is still really strong, but also feels weird on this team. Like, as much as I love Arcanine, I think if you switch that out, it helps with like your ground weakness. Helps reduce your rock weakness a little bit more.
Like,
And like, it's still worth a lot of points.
would
Like, that's
I
what, a 9?
would I be out of
29?
line to say this team really doesn't seem to have any identity?
No, I can see where you're coming from. because like
I don't
the
know what
trick
this
room
thing's supposed
mode
to
is
do.
only the center. It feels like it's a trick room mode, a trick room team, like very hard trick room, from the Sylveon to the Clawitzer, I'd say.
Then you just got a random Masquerain and Solosis, which I understand low points.
Yeah, like Masquerain, I think is valid
I mean,
to get your Intimidate, to get your get rogue bug damage, because looking at a lot of this team, I can see people going like Terra Grass or whatnot. So you're trying to scare them with your ends from doing so, but I think you can do it more effectively.
yeah.
Like for the Arcanine, even something like a Baxcalibur, I think could be really interesting because
I don't mind the
then
Baxcalibur
you
at
get
all.
like you don't like the
I don't mind it.
Baxcalibur?
I don't mind it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say like the Baxcalibur, like even just throwing out icicle spears, just
Like,
really
if-
pressures your opponents.
Their double fairy is not a bad thing to double. Fairy is not a bad thing to double up on, but this team doesn't have any of the support it needs to be able to switch out of weakness. Like there's a lot of it's Trick Room, but it seems like there's a lot of decently frail Pokemon on here. Like there's the bulk isn't here.
I'm also very concerned about the Ghost weakness. Like I know Ghost isn't hitting anything like super hard, like outside of the Solosis, the
The Trevenant doesn't. The Trevenant won't take one well.
Well, just looking at your 3 Trick Room setters, like each one of them are weak to Ghost, and you're putting a lot of pressure onto that Clefairy.
Yeah.
You're pinning down your Clefairy, being like, you have to tank multiple hits so I can get Trick Room up, and then we're good to go.
So
When I think like Clefairy next to Hariyama, just getting some quick Flame Orb damage with Heal Pulse could be really nice.
So I don't want to tear into this team too much. I'm gonna say C minus probably. I don't like this team. I think it needs work.
I'm gonna give it a C. Change the end pieces, like I was saying, the Masquerain and the Arcanine, and try to figure out a way to get around your. Try to like see if you can fix up the type chart just a little bit. Even if that means replacing the Rampardos, to get something a little bit quicker.
Find a good steel type.
Yeah, like a steel type would really help.
A dragon
honestly,
wouldn't
like
be bad either.
Yeah, dragon wouldn't be too bad. How much is Rampardos in points?
I think it's 5.
Oh, it's 4. Okay, I just found it here. Yeah, so like in the 4-point tier, like even if you got something like Muck, like it really helps minimize your grass weakness. I'm saying this over the Rampardos.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps weaken your grass weakness. It has some decent bulk. You have some setup options. And then like you're just able to kind of start clapping things. And also it has a knockoff, which is it's not stab coming from Kanto Muck, but it's still hitting. It's still hitting hard. It's hitting different. And you know what? I hope he takes that out of context. Next.
Knowing me well. Next up is me. I'm gonna shut up and let you talk.
All right. So looking at your team, one of the first things I notice is, you're a bit weak to water. You have your Sun mode with your Ninetales, your Executor. I like the Indeedee, the Gallade. Indeedee, Gallade are super well posed, positioned together. Just because like you have Sacred Sword to help deal with the dark types. You have strong redirection. Psycho Cut is boosted by the Indeedee. Ceruledge and King Gambit, they fill a bit of a similar role And while I think that King Gambit is really strong here, like it's hard to figure out what you would even replace it with, and like it is stupid strong into any team. Like Assault Fest, I've had a lot of fun with Black Glasses sword stands. Just start threatening your opponent. The Gligar and Trapinch, I see where you're coming from with them. They're both like your lower tier option picks, where you just kind of like, you know what, I need something that can still hit hard. So 100 base attack, I don't know, like Earthquake gets first impression as well. Let me double check what else Trapinch gets. And Hyper Cutter to stop the Intimidates, Arena Trap, you know, just to guarantee you have additional support in that sense. I think you have a lot of really good options here. So I'm curious to see how it goes. Best Friend Pikachu, you know, Fake Out, Nuzzle, to help enable like things like your Executor and your Saraledge. Even the Feraligatr with the Dragon Dance up, Sheer Force boosted liquidations. If they are paralyzed, then those options all get to pop off. Overall, I'd give this team about a B, just because if I understand where it's going, but I can't fully. There's still some pieces there. I'm like, okay, it feels like you are trying to divide and like put everything into its own like little subsection.
Okay. So this started because like I was just gonna meme this season.
Yeah.
So Jay hit me up and was like, "Hey, I've got a team core. I got an idea for you to try," which was the Size Spam Sun. So that's why Executor is here. It works with both modes, and it's nice, and everything else is just kind of like really supportive. I can, if I decide I have to bring one mode over the other, then I have pieces for both. The water weakness does concern me a little bit. At one point, there was a Shellos on this plan, but I had to drop it for something else. I do. This. I've done some testing with this already. It's a very fun draft, and that's really all I care about.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a lot of fun.
This team, I don't know if I agree or disagree with the B rating, and it's not just because it's my team. I think there's a lot of deceptive things, but it's also, I don't know if this is a team that I've got to make work for me, or if I'm working for the team, kind of deal. Yeah. I think a lot remains to be seen, and I've got to figure that out.
Yeah, like as you go along with the team, I can definitely see like some adjustments, like you were saying, that Shellos pick there. You know, even looking at some of the other Storm Drain options, there's things like Finneon, even in the 1-point tier, where you get Tailwind and Storm Drain in one Pokemon. So, listen, I know I am like the Finneon Lumineon #1 lover, as I have the plushies in arm's reach. But I still think that they do have their place here. Anyways, let's go to the next team.
That would be Mr. B Rich, Tampa Bay Absol.
The boy is back. The boy is back, and when you know what, we're going Sand, we're going Weezing, we're going Toadscruel, and Wingull for some reason.
Yeah.
I love seeing what people are just like, you know what, we need to figure out what we're going for our one-pointer.
Wingull gets knockoff in Wide so I mean, why not?
This is true. This is true. Wingull does get those moves.
Is this the first Sand team we've seen so far for Ultra Ball?
Yeah. I think this is the this is one of the only Sand teams, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. No, we have quite the Sand team here with T-Tar. All votes go T-Tar. I think that this is a really intimidating core. Um, Something that would have been really nice, and Encore was able to do in the Premier Division, is have your Sand core with a Sinistra, because oh my god, I am not looking forward to going against that.
It's a really nice complimentary piece.
It is a really nice complimentary piece, but this team is still terrifying with that Toad Scroll, and making you have to figure out how you're going to do your things with how reliant this format is on its abilities.
Yeah.
With that Wheezing.
So I very much like this team. I think it's got some very nice modes.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the more oppressive sand modes we've seen as well. So
yeah,
I think
this sand mode is telling you to figure out how to damage it.
I think
although it is quite afraid of a Mach Punch.
Yeah, it is. I do think that the one thing I'm looking at that kind of stands out to me is the Como. I don't see a lot of great ways to enable it, whether it's redirection, so you can set Proclaimer Soul, or if it's just like something that can act as a cleric. I know Meowstic gets Heal Pulse, but Meowstic also gets everything, so I can't really say, oh yeah, that's what you should do.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's like you have to figure out how we're getting around that. I think the Iron Defense set could be really nice in this slot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is also going to be a sneaky pick that a lot of people overlook, because you have two strong cores sitting right beside each other, where this Como might just kind of fly right under the radar. Its type, its weakness isn't really highlighted in the type chart either, with Fairy, Ice, and Flying all being covered quite well.
Okay. I think this is a very strong team. I like the Torracat here. You don't have multiple things fighting for Eviolite that will actually show up, because I'm not even looking at the Seedra Wingle at this point.
Poor Seedra and Wingle.
Not a believer. Sit back down. Go back to daycare.
They're just here to help hide the water weakness of this team.
Yeah.
That is very prevalent.
I mean, you can't just rely on Gastrodon.
Yeah.
Especially because you got to be careful, considering you could accidentally shut down your own Storm Drain.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was even going to say, you also have to be careful for the fact that your team also has quite a grass weakness. Like one Ludicolo and you're quivering in your boots.
Yeah. I do like the team. I think that it has some potential to do really well. I do think, however, it's probably a B.
Yeah, I can see a B. Yeah, I'd say around a B sounds solid. Yeah, just because of those weaknesses, like we were saying, it does do a lot of good, but it just leans too hard into the sand mode, I think. Like, replacing the Lycanroc, I can see doing quite well. Either Lycanroc or Excadrill. One of those two.
I would probably replace Lycanroc. I think the Excadrill is perfect for this team.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was saying Lycanroc first. Just so in that way it's like, oh, you know what? Let's highlight the one you should replace, but also mention that you do have something else that's doing a similar job.
Yeah, like, I think, honestly, I'm not really sure what you would replace it with. So, hang on just a moment. Keep talking.
Yeah, so, just looking through, the different, because wait, it's a 6-pointer? Let me double check before, oh, sorry, it's a 5-pointer. So for 5 points, I think looking at something like the Rotom Mow would actually be insane in that Lycanroc spot. It's available. Vivian would be great as well. So in that way, you can set it up with the safety goggles or something like that to get around your own sand chip. But with the Vivian, you get redirection, like we were saying, would be nice. Rotom you enable additional strong special attacking prowess on this team, which arguably is one of your weaker points. So yeah, I'd say like Vivian or Rotom, one of those two over the Lycanroc, make this team so much more terrifying.
I agree
Also,
with
with the
that.
Vivian, you get the Pollen Puff.
Yeah. Like I mentioned, you really don't have a dedicated spot where you have somebody that can cleric for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the Vivian for this a lot. I think that'd be a really nice pick to look at.
Yeah, I was saying Vivian or Rotom. I think one of those two, since it's just a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, well, now I gotta actually think more. And you don't have to worry about your weakness being shut down by your own neutralizing gas with Vivian.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall, welcome to Gen 9, B-Rich.
Yeah, welcome to Gen 9. Oh, and we have our lovely, the one, the only
Moo.
Mo.
This is a team.
We got the starters. We got the starters, baby. We got that Fire, Water, Grass Core starters, so he can do pledges too. I don't recommend it, but he could.
I very much don't recommend it, especially with his team.
Yeah. Like I think if you have one of the really fast starters, then it's good to consider pledges more. I still think there could be a spot for the pledges, but I don't think it's a default mode that you should be looking at.
No. Honestly, I don't like. I think this is one of the weaker Moo teams we've seen. I'm not big on this team personally.
I think there's like 2 or 3 pieces that really hold this team back. Like the Lilligant Hisui feels a bit weak for the cost of it. Is what that's 8?
I think if you went for like a Breloom or something instead, if you really need that typing, then that's fine. However, you already have 2 grass types on top of the Lilligant. I think that could be a different piece altogether, and you would be much better off for it.
Like realistically, if you wanted to do a 1-for-1 trade, you can go Milotic, you could do PZ, you can do you could be nasty and go Smeargle. You have Corviknight right there, and Corviknight Garchomp is a lot more intimidating of a duo. You let's see, you still maintain your fire weakness, so you might want to look at replacing the Tingatuff. Honestly, the Fungus feels a bit weird here because I get why Fungus. Well, you don't have ATR. You don't have any Trick Room setter.
And also,
like that.
I do also want to point out, why do we have Oricorio Bow?
Because that's a friend.
Apparently.
I'm just looking through. Those are some of the things that I will look at changing. Because the fire weakness is really strong on this team. So I honestly kept looking over the Delibird. The Delibird is right there in my face. I get it's a 1-pointer, but it just needs to be swapped with something with less weaknesses.
Yeah.
Because each of these weaknesses are basically just Delibirds helping add to them.
Yeah, the only thing that Delibird isn't hurting is his ice weakness. That was fine on its own.
Yeah. So the way I like looking at 1-point tier options is it either has a very niche specific pick or option. So I'm just quickly scrolling at random through this. Nose Pass, right? Nose Pass is surprisingly deceptive with having sturdy, very high base physical defense, and access to Iron Defense Body Press.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're saying about how strong that was earlier. On this team, I think it could be really valuable because each of your weaknesses, it pretty much resists. Like, could you go into the Delibird slot and just type in Nose Pass?
Sure.
I just want to see how that changes the type chart. Because I know it doesn't help the fire as much, but like, look, your rock is gone. You have an extra resist on the flying, and your fire you have an extra resist. It doesn't resist the ice, so that's on me. But it's already helping patch out your weaknesses. So now you would just need to replace the Tinkatuff and the Lilligant Hisui, and I think you have a lot more defensive options that you can do without compromising the
I
team
will say,
as much.
I think the Tinkatuff is okay. I don't necessarily think that that's a problem. I do think the Lilligant Hisui needs to be fixed. My only issue with Tinkatuff is that you've already got Fungus vying for Nebuite. So you can't really run both of them on the same week.
Well, I was just going based off of like the thoughts I had earlier with replacing the Lilligant with Corviknight, since Corviknight and Garchomp really pair well together. And then you can get something more. Because what, Tinkatuff is 2 points? Yeah, Tinkatuff is 2. So you'd be able to, I don't know, bring it up to... let's see, just going at random Chimecho.
I could see also if you grab something like 1 point less for the Lilligant Hisui slot, you could go Grand Bull in that Tinkatuff spot.
Yeah, you could even do Grand Bull.
So now,
and then that way you get a fairy.
Yeah, now you have a physical fairy type that hits decent. It's okay with Intimidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this team doesn't have any Intimidates. You have Charm. I think Volby gets it, but just being able to have that additional threat. Overall, I'd give this team currently a C. Yeah, I'd give it like a lower C. Mm-hmm. Not quite C minus, but a lower C.
It's borderline.
Yeah, like your first 3 are really strong. The Samurott Hisui I like. And the Pachirisu I really like. But then the rest of the team, it feels like you're just kind of fumbling around.
Yeah.
Hell, even the full beat I like. It's the other ones that we've already said about making switches for. But like allowing Torch Song to just rack up for a late game, I think is really good. Getting spikes with the Ceaseless Edge, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Make your opponents run heavy duty boots. Use Ceaseless Edge 3 times. Watch them lose all their health.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think Samurott Hisui sticks around long enough to get 3, but in the off chance that you can, it's pretty nice.
Well, even just getting the 1-off, and then Garchomp's able to like just crush things with.
All of a sudden, Sash means nothing.
Yeah, Sash means nothing. Sturdy means nothing.
Validating a whole item, like a very popular item, is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and like, also if people have anything that's really weak to ground, say like Toxtricity, like that's a chunk of its health.
Mm-hmm.
Or even any electric types that aren't Electros, like they're losing a chunk of their health every time they come in. That wheezing from the last team that we were looking at is losing a chunk of its health.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the team has the right starting pieces. I just want to see it cleaned up.
Yeah, there's just some fine tuning, if you will.
Yeah.
So, all right, and then we're about to head
our
on to
last but not least,
Marcy. So, Smoky
Mountain.
Mountain.
So I want to hear your opinions on this first.
So this is kind of like my first time looking at the team. Very, very strong rain mode, I will say. Doesn't really have a lot of counters to deal with if they change the weather on you.
Mhm.
Like, I know you can set Rain Dance with Ludicolo again if you need to, like if they try to shift your weather. But you don't really have a prankster setter to keep that going if you have to play Weather Wars. I guess your Sun answer is, I mean, Ludicolo gets Solar Beam, but like otherwise it's Macargo, which is inherently just a bad idea. I like the Duskull for a small Trick Room mode. I don't think a lot of your speed tiers enable that well.
Yeah.
Lightning Rod. So Raichu, I think if you ever grab Pelipper, you always need to grab Raichu. I think they're a really good pair. I like it quite a bit. The Hydreigon Sneasler both seem a little out of place for me. Like, yes, Hydreigon's good on almost any team. There's not really a lot to further enable it here, unless you're just focusing on doing damage alongside it. And then I don't personally see a way for a Sneasler to proc on Burden without like White Herb or something.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was thinking too. Is I think the Sneasler is really nice if you had some way of proccing Unburden. Because Sneasler also does get Rain Dance if you wanted to try to go that direction. Do I think you should? Probably not, but you know, you could. Dire Claw, just having a 50% chance of getting a status off, and then if you really wanted to, you can even just do Focus Sash, Fake Out, Dire Claw, Close Combat. Dire Claw then having what, like a 62% chance, something like that?
It's something like that, yeah.
Yeah, or 65, sorry, percent chance of having a status condition going off just from Dire Claw and Poison Touch. Like, you are going to make someone annoyed because they either got slept, or they got poisoned, or they got paralyzed. And all of a sudden you're putting yourself in such a huge lead.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mentioned that the rain core is really nice. I like the Goldengo as an addition to that. The rain definitely enables it.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't enable it, but it prevents others from being able to clear it with fire easily.
Yeah.
I like their type chart too. Like, that just chunk of green at the beginning of it, I think is really nice for this team. Especially there's a lot of common typings there.
Like, as you were saying, the main with the type chart, the only weakness you have is Ghost, and part of that is brought up because of the Duskull.
Yeah,
I think is a strong anti-Trick Room option, but also, like, is there another pick that you can go for? Like, is Porygon available? Is Duskull cheaper than I thought? Is Duskull only one? Duskull is only one, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, Duskull is one.
Like, if you were able to do something like a Porygon, I know it's a couple points more, but I like the normal type Trick Room option on this style of team, especially since you have two other things that are immune to it. You have the Pelipper that resists it, Sneasler resists it as well, being a poison type. Gliscor resists it, and you have those Zorua to also play some trickery.
Mm-hmm. So I think I'm not huge on the Zorua, but I also understand it's a low pointer, so like I'm not gonna.
It's a 1 point cute little guy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give that any like flack or anything. It's a 1 pointer. That's fine. I think a stronger way to deal with somebody setting Sun or just a Weather Wars is needed on this team. I think
Yeah, I think like,
they went all in
doing
on
some
rain.
sort of weather.
They went all in on rain without a way to protect the rain. Like if I play against this team, the first thing I'm doing is is clicking sunny day.
Yeah, I think just being able to stop it with a quick sunny day, like we were able to have like a prankster sunny day, like we were talking about with Matt's team earlier. I think Matt's team is a prime example of figure out what you're going to do into this team, because I'm just clicking sunny day with my Murkrow and making your life hell.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to see how he goes into that. It's like I think Marcy is close to being like a really strong player, but then there's just like a couple of plays that makes, and you can tell that it makes him frustrated in the moment or in the game, and then it just starts to steamroll himself.
It's losing your head at like a couple bad plays, and like once you lose your head, there's really no getting it back in that match. That's what will kind of spell doom for you. So I really I'm not sure. I think this is a strong team. He always tends to draft a pretty strong team. We'll see how far he gets with this one. I think just one or two good pieces shifted, and this team becomes so much better.
Yeah, I think the team is really solid. As you're saying, there's just like a couple little things, and it also come down to the way that Marcy plays this team. So I'm willing to give this team, I'll give it a preemptive B+.
I like B+ here.
Yeah, and with that, I think that is our last team.
It is.
Yippee!
So overall, pretty decent Ultra Ball so far, or pretty decent Ultra Ball draft. We kind of went into this saying, okay, well, there's definitely people are going to be missing modes. There's going to be some odd things. That didn't happen a whole lot.
No, and as I was saying, like one thing to also keep in mind is, like we're going to have a lot of really strong cores. With like a lot of these strong cores, you're going to see like them be a little bit more one-dimensional, which we were saying a couple of times. But also, like those strong cores, you still have to get around them, even if they are one-dimensional. We saw people do well with it both in Master Ball last season and Ultra Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Master Ball last season, we had the Kyogre. I want to say it was Tommy who had the Kyogre team. Yeah, Tommy had a Kyogre team. It was Kyogre Tornadus, like duo as old as far back as I can remember, especially in single restricted. But those two together, like they still showed that there's a reason why they are a strong duo.
Yeah,
like they were able to clear through some weeks and push through, figure out exactly how he liked to play it, and made his opponents adjust to him while he was able to build more comfort with what he was running, which is something that is also should not be overlooked.
Oh, absolutely. There's something to be said for being able to hit your stride.
Yeah.
When you're drafting and knowing what works well for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for this Ultra Ball season, especially since I'm playing in it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a fun season.
Oh yeah, I think that we're gonna have a lot of really cool teams. I'm very excited to see how each of these weeks go across all the divisions, because we have a lot of varying strategies too. So I want to see the interactions with those and some of the more common strategies, like we were saying that rain earlier.
Mm-hmm. So,
but yeah,
I want to thank you. I want to thank all y'all for tuning in and watching.
Yeah.
Thank you, Riley, for coming on and helping me with this.
Thank you for letting me be the Charge Bug Vengabus.
No problem.
he asked me to send him a logo, and I was like, no, I got one better. And he's like, oh, okay. I guess that's gonna be you then. I was like, yes.
And then I'm just kind of sitting like, God damn it.
I got to be my boy.
You got to be the bus.
I got to be the bus.
It's like, don't run around too much or I'm going to start calling you Short Bus.
Just a little guy. Anyways, we'll let you all go. Thank you all for watching. And y'all have yourselves a good day.